Welcome to EDD 7123, audio podcasting from sunny Florida. The term I will be discussing in this podcast is analog media. But before I get into the nitty-gritty of this podcast, I want to share with you a very interesting point about analog media. Although the term analog has been around since the 1940s, and used in educational audiovisuals, such as the recognition of the Japanese Zero military training video, it took almost 30 years until the 1970s when the Commission on Instructional Technology defined instructional technology as the media born of the communication revolution, which can be used for instructional purposes alongside the teacher, textbook, and blackboard. In order to fully understand analog media, I will take a moment to discuss what each term means separately and then what they mean when combined. As I mentioned earlier, in the 1940s, the term analog was used in reference to a device or process in which data is represented by physical quantities that change continuously, such as telephone lines, a watch, or more commonly associated with the analog computer. To many unfamiliar with the field of EDD, the term media is often associated with terms used in entertainment such as CDs, DVDs, and similar forms of audio or audiovisual formats. However, if one takes a closer look at the term media, one will discover the term includes many other forms of delivering information. It is important to remember that media is simply plural for medium, and the term medium refers to anything that carries information between a source and a receiver. It is important to keep in mind that media can be presented as text, audio, visuals, video, manipulatives with objects, and people, for the purpose of facilitating communication and learning. When combining the two terms, the definition takes on an amalgamation of the definitions, in that analog media is data or information presented through various mediums. While analog media may seem like a thing of the past, it is this so-called thing of the past that has made the world of digital media such a revolutionary advancement. Analog media should be viewed as part of the emergence of educational technology in regards to the improvement to correspondence education as a means of instruction designed to reflect particular ways of thinking, acting, speaking, or feeling, primarily with the design and use of messages which control the learning process. Analog media has been and can still be used to communicate asynchronously and or synchronously through pre-recorded media or through a combination of one-way and two-way audio and video communication. However, it is important to keep in mind that the various forms of analog media, such as analog audio and analog video, do degrade over time since the signal or wave is taken straight from the microphone and laid onto tape. These audio cassettes and video cassette tapes fall under the analog media category used in classrooms for various purposes such as individualized instruction, learning centers, or whole group instruction. I'd like to now recap the significance of analog media in the field of EDD. The relationship between analog media and digital media is an evolutionary hybrid of old and new. This is what makes analog media such an interesting term. The analog signal is converted into a digital signal in order for individuals to view and hear the audiovisuals on updated equipment or technology, which occurs by the analog wave is sampled at some interval and then turned into numbers that are stored in the digital device. Analog media is the foundation on which the field of distance education was built upon. While there are advantages to using analog media, the disadvantages of using this form of media, such as difficulty locating segments, fixed sequence, fixed pace, to name a few, can be overcome with the use of digital media. On a side note, the use of analog media for educational purposes in developing countries has significant implications for dispersing knowledge in impoverished and remote areas, and therefore should not be casted into the shadows of a forgotten era. I'd like to wrap up my podcast on analog media with Clark's analogy to analog and digital technology, which is still as relevant today as it was decades ago, in that media are mere vehicles that deliver instruction, but do not influence student achievement any more than the truck that delivers our groceries causes changes in our nutrition. Thank you for listening to my podcast, and I hope you enjoyed the synopsis on analog media.